Welcome to the Speakers Inc. We Speak Global Speakers Showcase. We are now in week number 4. It's going to be another wonderful, wonderful session. First thing I need to do is say welcome, welcome. This is for you, just so you know we appreciate all the trouble you've gone through. Giving you the biggest round of applause we can muster.
Oh my goodness.
But Palesa, before I let you, oh yes, first, I think decompress. I think we all need to just do a little moment of decompressing, because I know that you've had a frenetic last 10 or 12 minutes. So I'm going to say, while I wax lyrical about you and what you do and go through your little biog in terms of your introduction, take a deep breath. You look lovely. You look fantastic. Everything is going to be wonderful. We are now at peace with the world. We are at peace and at one with the technology that has allowed us to be present in the moment. I'm now going to introduce to you Palesa Mosiea. She's a motivational speaker. She's got a beautiful smile. She's a wellness coach and an entrepreneur. She worked in senior management in both public and private sector before making the decision to start her own business. She has received numerous awards for her work, and she continues to push boundaries and break barriers, proving that nothing is impossible. Her purpose is to make a difference in the world, and this is the driving force behind everything she does. If all I said was her purpose is to make a difference in the world, that would have been adequate as far as an introduction is concerned. But I'm going to say, Palesa, thank you very much. Trials and tribulations of connectivity are now over. Over to you. Have a great time, and we'll see you in a short while. Welcome.
Woohoo! Thank you so much for having me. An eagle lived on a farm with a bunch of chickens. After a while, the eagle decided that it wanted to fit in. It wanted to be like other kids. He started to want to be a chicken because he wanted to fit in. Now, this is strange, because when you think of an eagle, you think of a majestic, powerful creature. An eagle flies up to 320 kilometers per hour. That's the flying speed of an eagle. Whereas a chicken, the recorded speed of a chicken flying, and yes, ladies and gentlemen, chickens do fly, very briefly, but fly nonetheless, is 13 meters. But here's this eagle wanting to be a chicken. So the farmer allowed the eagle to be a chicken because he also didn't want the eagle to be sidelined or being different. He just wanted the eagle to fit in. But one day a man comes onto the farm and sees this eagle behaving like a chicken. He was perplexed. He takes the eagle and asks the farmer, why is this eagle behaving like a chicken? And the farmer said, leave him be. He wants to be like his friends, the chickens. But this man was not having it. He took the eagle, put it on his arm, and said, eagle, you were born to fly, take flight. But the eagle could only see the farmhouse and the chickens. And all he did was jump off the man's arm into his familiar setting among the chickens. The man was not having it. He came back the next day with a different plan. He climbs on top of the farmhouse and he takes the eagle, he puts it on his hand. He said, eagle, you are a majestic creature. You were born to fly. Take flight. The eagle looks into the horizon, but at the corner of his eye, he can see the farmhouse. And as he listens, he can hear the chickens. So the eagle flies just enough to get back onto the ground and join the chickens. The man says, no, I have to come up with a plan here. He goes home, comes back. The next morning, he takes the eagle and he goes to the top of a mountain. He puts the eagle on his arm and says, eagle, your destiny awaits. You were born to fly. The eagle looks around and there was no farmhouse. The eagle listens and there was no sound of the chickens. All the eagle could see was the horizon, its destiny. And for the first time in a long time, the eagle spreads its wings and takes flight. Now, all of us have that one person in our lives that is like that man that came to the farm. For me, it was my primary school teacher. For the life of me, I can't remember her name, but I will always remember the impact she had on my life. You see, I went to Val Christian School, a school in the Val that was near a railway track. So the sand was very black from the coal that was being transported on the railway. We stayed in these wooden structures of classes, and every Monday we would walk to assembly, single file. Each class would join the queue, and what you would then have is a very long queue of learners heading to assembly. And on that day, something all too familiar happened. Ladies and gentlemen, I was born with a condition called albinism. It is a congenital lack of pigment in the skin, the hair, and the eyes. And because I was born with albinism, I was different. My difference was problematic because I couldn't relate with the white kids because I look like them, but I don't sound like them. I couldn't relate with the black kids because I sound like them, but I don't look like them. Now, the world does what the world does when you're different. They rebel against you. And at the end of the day, everybody would mock me and make fun of me because I was different. And I, on this particular day, did what I did ever so often. Every time that it happened, I started to cry. And when I started to cry, one of my teachers saw me crying. She pulled me out of the queue and she asked me, "Why are you crying?" Now, this condition of albinism in my country, there are so many words that are used to describe it, right? Most of them are derogatory and demeaning. But in that moment, when I explained to her what was happening, I said to her, "They're calling me an albino." She then looked at me and said to me, "Why would you cry when they call you what you are?" I lost it because here is this woman who is supposed to protect me. Here is this woman who's supposed to reprimand the kids when they are being bullies and when they are being mean to me. And she's telling me this. I went back to hostel. I was in boarding school at the time. And Telkom had these, what do you call them? Phones. And you would need to use coins to make a phone call. Or you could get a card that was already loaded with the money that you would use to make a phone call. So I took my phone card. It had 20 Rand loaded on it. I went to the phone booth and I called my mother and I sobbed until the funds on the card were depleted. Because I didn't choose this. I was just born this way. I wouldn't want to be in this situation, but here I was. I found myself in it. When the card was depleted, I retreated to my room at boarding school and still continued to cry until I fell asleep. I woke up the next morning, and as I was washing my face, I looked in the mirror and I realized something very important. Crying was not working. I had done a lot of it, ladies and gentlemen, but it was not working. So what was the next thing to do? To stop crying. So Palesa, how about you stop crying and see what happens when you stop crying? How about that? So I stopped crying. I knew it was going to happen because it happened 2 to 3 times a week. I was bullied quite a bit because I was different. But this time I was ready. And it happened just like I anticipated. This time it was break time. And it was a group of white girls. And unfortunately for them, they had no idea of the train that was heading towards them. So they start to make fun of me. I get off the jungle gym. I go right to the leader of the pack. I said, "What's your problem? I have your skin and pointing at a black child and their mind. So I have the best of both worlds. So what is your problem?" Now, when I think about it, ladies and gentlemen, I should have trademarked that phrase because years later, a bread making company called Albani in South Africa would make a bread that was white, but had all the goodness of brown bread. And they called it the best of both. There goes my payday. But me calling myself the best of both worlds was me silencing the bully. Because every time people bully you, their power is from your fear. And when you take away that power, then the bully is rendered powerless. So the best of both worlds was there. And somehow, when you stand up for yourself, word gets around and people no longer mess with you. They find their next victim. Now, for me to get to that point is the reason I am the woman I am today. That is where I found the confidence. When I stood up for myself, when I loved myself, and when I showed the people around me that being different does not make me less, that being different is my superpower. Now, as I'm speaking about this condition that I have, it didn't come easy. That playground of Bal Christian came from a lot of difficulty. When I was going to school, people wouldn't sit next to me and they thought that if they touched me, they would turn vanilla. And then when I walked around and I saw children with their parents would pull their t-shirt and spit in it. Apparently, when you're born with albinism, it was known to be a curse to your parents. They must have done something wrong to deserve to have a child like this. And if you wanted to avoid having a child with albinism, all you needed to do was pull your t-shirt, spit in it, and the curse would go right past you. These are things that I had to deal with. But we all know that this condition, like I said earlier, is just a congenital lack of pigment in the skin, hair, and eyes. What a colossal waste of perfectly good saliva. And also, in most cases, this condition comes with another condition, which is a visual impediment. There are many of them, but the one that I have is called nystagmus, an involuntary movement of the eyes that causes short sight. So if you look at me and you look into my eyes, you will notice that my eyes don't stop moving. It's involuntary. I don't do it as a party trick. I don't do it to be cool. It's just something that happens because I was born with nystagmus. And all my life I was told that I'll never drive. Now that's funny because I'm coming to you live from Harrismith in the Eastern Free State, having driven 3 hours from Alberton in Johannesburg. You heard me right, ladies and gentlemen, I drove here. But all my life I was told that because of my visual impediment, I would never drive. So then I thought to myself, okay, I'll never drive. All right, cool. I can get a driver. My dream car was a BMW. And I said to myself, the minute I can afford it, that's the car I'm going to get. And as luck would have it, when I was done with my internship, Rob's Promotions needed a PR and communications manager. They called me on board. In 6 months, they promoted me to general manager, and I could afford my BMW. I remember going to the 4 major banks, and 3 of them told me that they do not assist people that don't have a driver's license with vehicle financing. This was strange for me. What does financing have to do with a driver's license? Besides, I told them I'm going to have a full-time driver, but they still weren't having it. 3 out of 4 said no. Only 1 of them gave me hope, because I asked them a simple question. What happens when a person that is completely blind wants to buy a vehicle? And then they told me that they would usually buy this vehicle under a family member or a friend. And I said, but what if that person passes away without a will? What happens to that asset? And the bank said, we don't get into those details, but it's something we've never done before. So I said to them, so why don't you start with me? Let's see what happens. And fortunately for me, because I'm a pusher, they were willing to take the risk with me. And I got my vehicle financing. I got in my car, which I couldn't drive for approximately 7 to 8 years. But having a driver comes with its own challenges. Remember, when I need to go to the store to buy bread, I needed a driver. Everything that I wanted to do, I needed a driver. So if my driver didn't show up, I couldn't move. And that didn't sit well with me. To on another person. And many times they let me down. My driver would sometimes show up to work completely inebriated. Then I can't do anything because I don't want to drive with someone that is under the influence of alcohol. And this happened on numerous occasions. At some point, I even had 2 drivers because I thought if he gets enough time off and the other one goes on and they work 2-week shifts, then the problems would stop, but they never did. So in 2017, I went to God and I said, I want to drive. I'd never asked him before because I was told my whole life it's impossible, that it would never happen. And 2 days later, I see a lady on Facebook outside of her car. She had albinism. And that was not a strange phenomenon because I would take pictures in front of my car even though I wasn't driving it. But something in me said, ask her. And I did. I said, are you driving? And she said, yes, it's possible. I went to low vision optometrists and they assisted me with bioptic glasses. It is lenses that are fitted with a telescope and they allow me to drive. But there were more obstacles as per my life. When I got to low vision, I qualified for the glasses, but the cost was ridiculous. I couldn't afford them. But do you think that deterred me? No. I found a company. I wrote a letter to them and I asked them to fund my glasses. I asked them to fund my dream to get behind the wheel of a car and drive myself. For the first time in my life, by this time I was in my early 30s. Can you imagine being told your whole life that something can never happen? And now you find that it will happen, but it's going to cost you and you can't afford it. You don't quit. You find a way. And I did, which is why I got to drive here today. The best of both worlds is a story of triumph over adversity. It is a story that says, no matter what obstacles you encounter, never let anything deter you from achieving your goals. It is a story that speaks about our choices and how it is our choices and not our circumstances that determine our outcome. The best of both worlds is a talk that gets booked the most because it is a story of hope. It shows you that you have it in you to take your future into your own hands and make what you want of it. That you never let anybody tell you that you can't, not even yourself. Because sometimes it is that inner voice that is our worst enemy. Now let me take you back to the farm. We have people in our lives that are the farmer. No matter how much they love us, they still find a way to limit us. When my family found out that I'd found the technology to drive, they were terrified. I mean, this is the same family that would watch me watch TV, sitting right in the middle of the room, right in front of the TV, and all the other kids would watch around me because I was significantly short-sighted. So how could they trust me behind the wheel of a car? That was their fear. And they were projecting that fear onto me to try and protect me, but still projecting fear nonetheless. I still did not allow that to deter me. Who is the person in your life that holds you back? Sometimes, no matter how well-meaning people are, their fears, their insecurities, their inabilities and capabilities, and incapabilities are the reason why they tell us that we can't. So note that sometimes even the people that have the best interests, your best interest at heart, are the people that can hold you back and to push through. And then who are the chickens? The chickens are your circle of influence, your network, the people you surround yourself with. How many times have we heard that your network will determine your net worth? And yet we do nothing to change the people around us, even though we know they're toxic, even though we know they discourage us and they hold us back. We hold on to them for dear life, and that holds us back. Let me tell you today that sometimes you need to love people from arm's length. You need to keep them at a distance for your own sanity, for your own prosperity. Mind the circle around you. If you are surrounded by people that are perfectly okay with you becoming a chicken, just because they're chickens, that are perfectly okay with you being comfortable in your comfort zone, you need to start making some changes. And then there's that man that came onto the farm and saw the potential in that eagle and said, no, I see more in you than you see in yourself. And I believe that you can achieve anything you want to achieve. And he took that eagle and gave it permission to fly. Who are those people in your life? You need to get more of those people. Because one thing I've realized about this life is if you can silence that negative voice and you can increase the positive voice, it is in that balance that you learn self-love. And once you learn how to love yourself, you will let no one deter you. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm Palesa Mosiea. This talk spans 45 minutes to an hour. But if you want to hear more, you need to speak to Bronwyn. You need to get me in front of you. Because what you see right now is the mild version. When I get in front of an audience, I call it a runaway train. There's no stopping me. Thank you so much for lending me your ears. They have been a heavy weight on my shoulder, and I give them back to you. Thank you.
Palesa, you are a rock star. You are an absolute rock star. This is the round of applause you get once again. Look, if for no other reason, they need to book you so they can see what you unleash yourself as when you finally get in front of people. You are incredible. You're phenomenal. And yes, you are different, but you are awesome. What an incredible 25 minutes. Thank you so much for your time. You're not leaving though. You're not leaving. No chance. I'll tell you why. I've got a couple of questions. The first thing is, before I get to the questions, in the chat group, people are sending you multitudes of hearts. Well done. Mo Palesa, well done, Palesa, you superstar. You are my super rock star from Debbie Rich. Palesa, you've made an impact today in a small way online, but I can guarantee you this is going to transcend and transfer, and it's going to travel. Talking about traveling, you mentioned Alberton. Are you originally from Alberton?
No, I'm actually from a small town called Vosloorus. It is about 15 minutes away from Alberton. Was born there, but raised in the Free State.
The reason I ask is because I'm from Alberton, and people from Alberton are in and of itself, they're special people. So Vosloorus, Alberton, it's all the same part of the world. So you get where I'm coming from. It's all the same place. It really is the same part of the world. I've got a couple of other questions that I really want to ask you. You were successful really early and you got that incredible car. What was the car? Did I miss that? I didn't get what kind of car it was. You said Porsche, but you said you were the Porsche.
No, it wasn't a Porsche. It was a BMW. I'm a Bavaria Motorworks girl through and through.
Sorry.
You can't get me off those vehicles. And I'm on my fifth one right now.
Oh, you really are? Oh, I love it. How did you handle being successful so young, though? Because you obviously developed that incredible sense of confidence at that young age, which the story behind that, by the way, is so much more involved than what I thought it would be, which is fantastic. How did you handle that success? You were young. You're still young. How are you handling it?
I was very young. I was general manager at the age of 23, and I was in a male-dominated industry of boxing. So I was managing 18 boxers. Some of them were world champions. Some of them were intercontinental champions, holding some of the best belts in the world. And I remember the first time I wanted to speak to some of the managers in the Eastern Cape to match my boxer with one of their boxers. They told me straight, we don't speak to women. So to answer your question, how did I handle success at an early age? I worked very hard and I earned the respect. So when they saw me, they didn't just see a young girl. They saw somebody that earned her stripes. And within a year of being in the boxing industry, I was on stage collecting an award for Promoter of the Year and Fight of the Year nationally and internationally. So I earned my stripes. I earned my stripes.
You most certainly did, and congratulations. Can I ask you a favor though? Can you get back into boxing and maybe fix it for us? Would that be a
Oh my
possibility?
goodness, I tried. At this point, they need to pay me enough for the headache and then pay me for the work. But you know what? What we did in boxing, when we were in boxing, we revolutionized the sport. We paid boxers what they deserve. We gave them an opportunity to get into the ring, and we really did it the right way. The idea behind that was to set the tone of how things should be. And sometimes you try your best and it just doesn't catch on. But I don't lose hope, because as long as the sport exists and as long as there are boxers that are willing to get into the ring, there is a hope that boxing will grow and be better.
I'm with you completely. I think it's one of the greatest sports in the world. And I think internationally it needs to grow and foster and really re-energize itself. I've got two more questions before you go, if you don't mind. One of them was sent to me. The other one is my own. The first thing is, from me, what gets you up in the morning? What drives you to get up in the morning, bounce around the room, get ready and face the day? What's your driver as you open your eyes in the morning?
I'm a lover of life. That's the first thing. You can tell, right? I'm vibrant. I'm a ball of energy. So an opportunity to live another day gets me up, because God gave us the gift of life and ours is to live it. So that's number one. I love to live. In fact, I negotiate with God every night when I pray, and I say, please more time. Please more time. I want to stay around longer. There's just so much more to still do. So life motivates me. And then in 2019, I was blessed with a little girl. Her name is Umpile, second name Pari, or also known as Paris. And that little girl has completely changed my world, and she gets me going. And the third thing, one of the things that I do is I'm a wellness coach, and I'm on these incredible products called Herbalife Nutrition, and that kickstarts me. Then it doesn't stop. It doesn't stop until midnight, because I'm also a night owl. So I'm motivated by life. I'm motivated by my daughter, and I'm motivated by my healthy, active lifestyle.
You and I are going to be friends. I'm going to guarantee it, because we are very similar in what drives us, and the level of energy that comes from us, I think, is a very similar level, which is fun. I would love to be in the same room with you on one of those events. I think that could be really something to watch. Having said that, you mentioned about the daughter. I must tell you, this is really something that's close to my heart. My daughter is having her first baby. I'm going to be a grandfather for the first time in September. So my daughter and my son drive me already. But here's the thing. I can't wait for the drive that comes from this little grandchild. Am I right? Do you think it's right?
Yeah.
It's going to be something. It's going to be something. It's funny how you find more love. There's just more love, and I can see you filled with love. That's exactly the way it should be. Last question before I let you go, so you can throw your phone up against the wall for all the connectivity issues. I'm going to do this. I know. It's frustrating. What is the next goal for you? I feel like it might be a very, very, very long answer, because you look to me like a person who's got so much going on. What's the next goal, your next immediate goal?
Immediate? So you're talking about something that I want to achieve now?
Yes.
To be a president's team on the Herbalife marketing plan. That's something that I'm planning for like crazy. And before we had this conversation, I really wanted to do a movie, and I just landed my first movie for Netflix. So I'm. Are you
kidding me?
Now.
Are you kidding me?
And it's one of those situations.
Yeah, and you know what happens now? I say to you, well, Palesa, that leads me to my next question. What's it all about? And you say to me, no, I've signed a non-disclosure agreement and I can't say anything. That's how this goes now. That's terrible.
There you go.
Palesa, you're a ball of energy. Oh, listen, I love that. So we've got your short-term and your long-term. Whatever you decide to do, you know what it's going to do? It's going to go, touch gold. It's done. It's finished. That's how easy this is going to be for you. Thank you so much for your time again. Thank you for persevering. I'm so glad we didn't decide to stop this and redo it. I am so happy we didn't, because I think this is gold. Everybody online right now, won't you do me a favor one more time? You've got so much positive energy in the chat group, by the way. So I'm going to amplify that by doing this one more time, just so you know. That is the round of applause that you most certainly have earned and most certainly do deserve. If anybody online today wants to book Palesa, wants to be part of her future, wants to have her as part of the next event, all you need to do is log on to speakerzinc.com, talk to Bronwyn, talk to Duncan. They will give you all of the relevant details. Oh, and guess what? We will also have this particular chat online for you to look at again. If you'd like to show somebody, show the powers that be, talk to your managers, whoever is the decision maker, show them this particular clip. Going forward, this is what you need to do. Log on to the site, download it, have a look at it. Make sure you get Palesa involved for your next event. Palesa, you're a ray of sunshine. Thank you so much for your time. Have a beautiful day. Enjoy your BMW. And you and I will chat again real soon. I really do. Cheers, man.
Thank you
Cheers,
so much.
everybody. Have a
Thank
beautiful
you.
day. Have a beautiful
You
day.
too.
Thank you.